The name Henry Loeb probably does not ring a single bell. He is a crucial piece in the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, and his family is a family. So in 1968, two black sanitation workers are crushed due to faulty trucks. Now, at this time, a lot of black sanitation workers are on public assistance and can barely afford anything. So the death of these two men really the last straw, and so about 1,300 of them go on strike. The protest started on February 12th. By February 22nd, City Council has now voted to recognize their union and to support a wage increase. And the mayor rejects the City Council decision because he is a known segregationist and refuses to acknowledge it and says that he's the only one that can make that decision, and that mayor is Henry Loeb. So the protests intensify. They start packing jails. They're protesting daily, and they're organizing beyond Memphis, so much so that it gets the attention of Dr. Martin Luther King, who on March 29th leads a march of 5,000 people in Memphis. At this particular march, a fight breaks out, and later Dr. King blames this on a black power group known as the Invaders. But by nightfall, King has left Memphis. All of Memphis is on curfew, and there are 4,000 members of the National Guard watching the city. The very next day, protesters are back outside, and this is where you see the famous I am a man signs that people are holding. Now, a lot of people around Dr. King do not want him to return to Memphis because it's not safe. He does so anyway. On April 3rd, he is photographed outside the Rain Hotel after he had received a notice, essentially stating he cannot leave the next day's march because it's not court approved. And that same day, he gives one of his most infamous speeches, I've been to the mountaintop. The next day, the day that the march is set to take place, King is assassinated. Loeb is not flinching on his decision. On April 8th, Coretta Scott King and several other civil rights leaders march in Memphis in complete silence and end up at City Hall with the exact same demands that the workers have had since February and before. It's not until several weeks after the assassination of Dr. King that Loeb agrees to give sanitation workers wage increases and recognizes the union. Down the road, Loeb then stalls the installation of these changes. That I want to talk to you about class, because what people don't realize is that the last years of Dr. King's life and legacy are spent discussing class, capitalism, and black labor. This is where we see the Poor People's Campaign. Losing King was a big hit to the civil rights movement, but it's not the only hit. There are hundreds of reasons. Achieving the Civil Rights Act had been such a central goal of the movement that once it was achieved, there was a lot of indecisiveness about what the next thing for the movement would be. There was a decline in organized events, but also a decline in attendance and in donations. But also other leaders are assassinated, imprisoned, and or just make their departure from the United States. Today, the fight for equality is very much a fight for labor. Sanitation workers weren't fighting for the right to be millionaires, they were fighting for the right to live in dignity. The same way National Domestic Workers Alliance is fighting for care workers to live in dignity. The same way the Union for Southern Service Workers is fighting for service workers to live in dignity. And the same reason why we still see sanitation workers strike. Civil rights and labor rights will always be intimately connected.